So this is an early morning video, but I gotta get it out to you right now. I just can't wait. I can't wait. I'm just burning up. I'm ranting like crazy. So I just saw the smear campaign against Elon Musk on social media, mainstream media, and from so-called intellectuals. And it's literally just firing me up because I feel they're insulting your intelligence. I mean, this is so low level. It's like a layup for me to break this down. So let's get started. So as most of you probably know, yesterday Elon Musk went on Twitter, shocked the world, unprecedented, right? He goes and he says, I have $25 billion of shares. I'm thinking about selling 10% of my Tesla holdings. And I'm thinking about doing this because they're talking about taxing unrealized capital gains. And there's no way for me to pay this because I have no salary. I have no money. The only way for me is to sell these shares. Would you be comfortable with me selling the shares? And he basically said, I will abide by the results of this poll. And knowing Elon so far, although this is not legally binding, this motherfucker is going to do it. I mean, there's no way for me to know for sure, but I think he's going to do it. He's that crazy to take a $25 billion decision based on a freaking Twitter poll. Now, this in itself is fascinating, but not the point of this video. Now, immediately thereafter, what happened is the smear campaign started, and it was an all-out attack. So first of all, CNBC came out with an article basically saying Elon is playing all of you. He was going to sell these shares anyways. He's just using this Twitter poll to make it look like a good decision from a PR standpoint. So it doesn't hurt the share price anymore in his own image. And I will explain to you why this is a bunch of garbage nonsense in a second. I mean, it's going to be so easy. But I wonder why CNBC would do something like this. Again, I have my thoughts. You probably have yours. But let me break it down to you. What exactly is going on here? So basically what they're alluding to is some of the stuff that I broke down in my Alex Karp videos. You remember in the Alex Karp employee stock option or stock-based comp with Palantir, I talked about how the US tax system is really funky when it comes to stock option taxation. And I told you that the US tax system will tax people who get employee stock options once they exercise the option. So essentially, when you buy the stock, this is not only an expenditure for you to buy the stock, you also have to pay the tax bill before you even sold it. It's a little bit crooked because, if you hold a share, you only pay tax when you sell it. But if you're basically using up an exercise on employee stock option, it's viewed as an employee benefit and you pay the tax on the difference between the grant date, what the price was. I think in the Elon's case, we're talking about 2012 options, like $6 per share. Think about it. And whatever it is right now. So a lot of money, $15 billion tax. And basically CNBC is saying, well, he doesn't have any money. So this is his only way to pay this tax bill and he has to sell and he's playing all of you. This is just a publicity stunt. The problem with this is that Elon has a shit ton of Tesla stock, which he can collateralize and take a loan and pay this tax bill quite easily, actually, quite comfortably. It doesn't, it's pretty much as easy as a layup for him. He doesn't need to sell stock. It's quite easy. I mean, he's been taking loans, collateralizing his stock for a while, and he has plenty of space left to take more. It's not like he took out a loan on the entire holdings he has of Tesla. So that whole argument is just nonsense. There's no reason for him to sell, especially since he's proven not to be the sort of guy who sold the stock. He believes in Tesla long term. He dedicated his life to it. I don't think he thinks that $1,200 is the top for Tesla. So my 2 cents. Now, what's even worse than this is the social media and let's call them the academics, the intellectuals. So I thought today that hell froze over. I was looking out of my window to check the weather because Gordon Johnson was defending Elon Musk against these intellectuals. How bad it had to be for Gordon Johnson to defend Elon. I mean, this tells you everything. But I mean, it's not a Gordon Johnson video. It's a completely different video. Let me explain. The thing about this is that we have a few of them, but let's focus on one guy, which is Robert Reich. Robert Reich was, I think, the Secretary of Labor for the Clinton administration. He also worked for the worst president of all times, Jimmy Carter, and Gerald Ford. So he's been, the Secretary of Labor of like 47,000 years ago. And he's currently a professor in Berkeley. No disrespect to Berkeley or, this person. Good for him. The problem is that he's basically on a vendetta campaign on Twitter against Elon Musk. So just looking at his last few tweets, you'll find a few interesting things. For example, a tweet saying, well, Elon doesn't pay any tax and he should be punished, basically. He didn't say he should be punished, but that's kind of alluded to in the tweet. How come Elon is not paying any tax? I mean, the motherfucker paid like $70,000 in the past 3 or 4 years in tax. Well, that's because he didn't exercise any of his shares. He believes in Tesla. He doesn't sell any stock. He doesn't have any salary. He takes out loans against the stock. He doesn't pay tax until he sells. And he will basically say, well, this is a loophole. He's getting all this money through these loans and he's not paying any tax. Do you know the difference between a loan and an exercise event? It's a completely two different things. When you're taking a loan against stock, there's a huge risk that the stock is going to go down. It's a Tesla stock. Obviously, it's volatile as fuck. So there's a huge risk there. Not to mention the interest is paying on the money. So taking out a loan and collateralizing stock, it's not the same thing as selling a stock. It's a completely different set of risks. The only way you would do it if you completely believe that the stock will never go down. And as we know, stonks never go down. Just kidding. Obviously, he knows it might go down. It's a huge risk. So it's not like, you know, we can look at it and say, well, he's just cheating the system. It's bullshit. What even worse is that he actually tweeted, this Robert Reich is actually tweeted, take away Elon's money or something like this, and let's just spread it around and let, you know, pass it along or something like this. Which is the most communistic shit I've ever heard in my life. Motherfricker. Now, from my accent, you can probably guess I was born in Russia. I wasn't born in the US, and I'm old enough to have seen communism through my own eyes. I'm 40. I know I look 25, but I'm 40. So I've seen communism and how horrible it is. Now, since 1917, I think it's been safely proven that communists are idiots, and they pretty much ruin everything they touch. They're the worst. And I want to tell you a little bit of a story. So in communist times, when the revolution started in 1917, there was a term called kulak. Now, kulak should not be confused with gulag, because gulag, you all know what the gulag is. It's my previous place of employment. But a kulak is actually a fist in Russian. Kulak. Kulak. Now, a kulak actually in Soviet, in communist times, was a derogatory term for people with money who wouldn't just give away their money to everybody. When the communist revolution started, people with money and properties were expected to give everything away to the collective and, you know, just give up everything they have and become poor. And if you didn't do it, you were considered a kulak. You were holding on to your money. And it was very violent. It wasn't just about, you know, it's not like Twitter and Instagram. They were not getting canceled. They were getting fucking killed. I mean, it's that horrible. And I feel that the rhetoric that I saw with all this artwork that we have from the kulaks in the beginning of the Russian Revolution, the Communist Revolution, is the same rhetoric being used against Elon Musk right now by these intellectuals. And I saw something similar from, I think, the UN. Well, Elon's fortune can solve all the world's problems, blah, blah, blah. So all of these guys who lost the Monopoly game are now basically bored. They don't want to play because Elon won the Monopoly game. He won the Monopoly game. He has all the houses, all the hotels, and all the other players just don't want to play anymore. They lost, and they want to reshuffle the cards. Tough luck, they can't. So the next best thing is to try to go at him this way. The problem with this argument, even on the intellectual level, is what I'm about to tell you right now. So Robert Reich, who was Secretary of Labor, I wonder how much the budget of the Department of Labor was when he was Secretary of Labor. I wonder what was the budget of the government. I wonder how much tens and hundreds of trillions of dollars the government in the US and every government pretty much anywhere spent on solving problems. What did you solve, motherfucker? What problems did the US government ever solve? Did you solve unemployment, Mr. Reich, the Secretary of Labor? Did you solve unemployment? Don't think so. Did you solve racism? No. Did you solve the healthcare system in the US or lack thereof? No. Student loans, inequality? No. No, no, no. No US government in the history of the United States, and Russia for that matter, has never solved any freaking problem. They're really good at building infrastructure, schools, roads, and whatnot. Good. And I do believe taxation is not a lie. And I don't think taxes are illegal or bad. I think we all should pay taxes. But when this rhetoric starts where the government knows better than the billionaire what to do with his money, that's communist talk, and it's just plain wrong. So while you guys sitting with your thumb up your ass, basically making shit worse, this dude in 10 years solved the world's energy problem. As you can see, it's getting worse by basically creating this whole solar panels bullshit. Completely transformed the automotive market, creating this EV revolution, even though Biden and his administration doesn't agree with it for some reason, I don't know why. Sent a car into space, building on the Starship to go to Mars, already sending people up to space in reusable rockets, and God knows how many crazy other ideas he's already executed in 10 years with a fraction of your funds. And you want to take away his funds so you can do it better? Motherfucker.